I 17F told dad about mom's affair to save him from a terrible marriage. Now he wants a paternity test and I don't know what to do. When I was about 9 years old, I realized my mom was having an affair for years on my military dad. I did not say anything as I was really worried what would happen if I said anything. When I was about 12 years old, I found my dad looking at pictures of our family and tearing up, and I couldn't take it and I told him about mom's affair. Fast forward 5 years and I live full time with dad and his new wife and stepsister, and our lives have improved so much since leaving mom. While grandpa on dad's side has been pressuring my dad to get a paternity test as he wants to make sure that I am his granddaughter. This is getting really intense as grandpa may pass away soon and he says he doesn't know if he should leave us anything if he doesn't even know. While my dad has resisted this for years and saying it doesn't matter, but now things have changed as I have half sibling on the way. I am totally happy and fine with this, but for some reason my dad has started to change his mind about the paternity test thing. He says he is worried that I won't receive help with my college or anything, but I am worried he's wondering if he should care about me or just my new sibling. I am not sure how much money my grandpa has, but he does have a big house and a lot of property, so I guess it's important. I would rather just continue with our relationship how it is, but I don't know what to do now and I haven't been able to sleep over this. What do you think I should do? Too long didn't read. Dad says we should get paternity test for me, but I am worried he won't love me if it goes wrong. Before you do anything, I think you need to sit down and talk with your dad. Tell him exactly what you are feeling and exactly what you fear. Be open and communicate with him. But try not to worry too much. All signs point to the fact that your dad sees you as his family. The fact he never wanted the test and things haven't changed between the two of you. I think the only reason he wants the test is because as his child he wants to secure your future and your grandpa's money for your education. Oh babe, this must be really hard for you and I am sorry you're going through this. There is nothing you can do. This is your father's decision. It sounds to me as though your father didn't care about the test and loves you unconditionally. It sounds like your grandfather on the other hand may have some other dated notions. Sit down with your father and tell him exactly what is on your mind. Read him your TL doctor, express your love for him. Stepmom, step and half siblings. Just tell him you're scared and ask what he thinks. First of all, this is a shitty situation. I am sorry you're in this. Your dad could just lie to your grandpa and say the test was taken and you're his. Might not be worth it to cause a big fight since the grandparents are on the way out. As for student loans, there is no way you'd be required to take a paternity test before your dad applies for FASFA or whatever it's called. Have you sat down with your dad and really laid out your fears? Tell him that regardless of what would come back on the test, you consider him to be the only father you want. Tell him that you'd rather not know for sure, as there are some things that cannot be unlearned. Tell him that you'll never forgive your mom for ruining your family life, and that you're both victims of her actions. As a dad raising a kid that's not mine and one that likely is but could not be, it doesn't matter at all. I love them both and my paternity doesn't change that in any way. But you don't know what's being said behind closed doors. Remember that just like you don't want your relationship to change with your dad, he likely doesn't want us to change or end badly with his dad. That very well may mean nothing between you two would change at all, but he may just be trying to keep a relationship with his father. I know honesty can be hard and awkward, but it sounds like your dad is trying to keep your best interests at heart and please his dying father at the same time. I would sit him down and reassure him that you love him and appreciate the relationship that you have and don't want it to change, but that you also appreciate his situation with his father. Let him know you're there to help and support him as well. Best of luck. If I was in your dad's position and my ass backwards old man wanted proof that my child was his biological grandchild, lest he withhold her future educational fund, I'd definitely be writing and delivering a fake paternity test. I just assume that anyone who thinks DNA determines family membership would be too dense to see through the ruse. I would also be honest with your dad about your feelings. Tell him it's your wish that a paternity test is not done because you are already feeling a bit insecure, that he will see you as equally important to his new baby, and throwing a DNA test into that mix would not be good for you right now. You're more worried what he will think than your grandpa, given that he's never wanted to do one before and he's always had you living with him. It seems likely that he sees you as his daughter either way, and he will be able to reassure you more than we can on Reddit. New babies and youngest kids get a lot of attention, especially in new relationships, but remember you were his first child and that's a very special place in his life to have too. You will probably still be all his firsts. His first kid to go off on their own, first kid he had a legal bear with, first kid he walked down the aisle, first kid to give him a grandchild, etc. Hi, as an adopted person 23, if I'll just say that whether or not you're biologically related shouldn't matter here. He's still your dad no matter what. It sounds to me like Grandpa is pressuring you and your dad doesn't share that view. I am sorry you're going through this, and I hope you can share how you feel with your dad and get some reassurance there. Much love to you in this challenging situation, but blood doesn't mean love, and I am very hopeful that your dad will continue to stand up for you. I don't think it's about your dad loving you as much as your grandpa's threats. Obviously, it hasn't mattered to your dad up to this point. It's probably your grandpa threatening to write him out completely if he doesn't agree to this. I don't think your dad is planning to toss you out, even if it does turn out you're not his bio kid. I would talk to your dad about your fears. He loves you, and you need to be able to trust that he has your best interests at heart. Give him the chance to explain himself. I wouldn't do a paternity test until you're out of your father's house and to a place in your life where, if your dad reacts badly, the harm is only emotional and not financial. As much as it seems like he would understand, it's rough. People don't always react how you'd expect, and there's a new sibling on the way, which changes the dynamic. Also, what happens if the paternity test comes back negative with regards to your grandfather? You wouldn't get the money anyway. I'd frame it as I love you no matter what, but I just can't deal with even a smidgen of a possibility you're not my dad right now. Maybe one day I'll feel different. I am sorry you're in a situation. Wow, your grandpa basing if you should be given an inheritance based on guaranteeing you're his biological grandkid is FKED up. You've been his granddaughter since you were born. Genetics don't change that. A lifetime of memories and love is what matters. It's like he's an adopted child any less than. That's so sad. Since your dad has resisted the paternity test, I am not really worried about him loving you less, but you know him. I don't. What a strangely relevant post to my life. I don't know if my mom ever cheated on my dad after they were married, but my dad was concerned enough that when I was 17 he made my brother and I both get paternity tests. There was also a family inheritance at stake, although not half-siblings. I know some of what you must be feeling, and I am so sorry. I remember being so terrified that if I wasn't my dad's kid that he wouldn't love me anymore, or would throw me out. I was afraid that our extended family would find out, and that they wouldn't see me as a real member of their family. I don't think he ever knew how heartbreaking the whole situation was for me, even though both my brother and I turned out to be his children. It's been 15 years and it still haunts me that I don't know what he would have done if I turned out not to be his child. The wound is just unbelievable. I think that if you have similar fears, you should talk through them with your dad and make a plan in case you turn out to not be his bio kid, who will know the results. Besides your dad and grandfather, what role is your stepmother playing in this? Since I presume she feels she has a stake in it, do you actually want to know for sure? I would also suggest that you tell your dad grandfather that if they want you to consider this at all, they need to get you a therapist right now so that you can have an uninvolved adult whose primary concern is your well-being, not their own money or potential money. All of the adults involved here have a financial stake, which means that their advice will be biased and not necessarily in your best interest. As much as they love you, hunks, no matter what you decide to do, you haven't done anything wrong. This is getting really intense as Grandpa may pass away soon and he says he doesn't know if he should leave us anything if he doesn't even know. Why is your father not protecting you? Even if paternity is challenged, you essentially are his adopted and actual family. That's messed up. The clear solution is just to have him lie to your grandfather. He's going to be dead soon and his backwards horrific, abusive standards are dying off with that generation. He essentially is subscribing to the bastard child idea, which is like 500 years out of date. If things change, definitely talk to a lawyer as you have rights within the family. Go very public as well after verifying if this is smart with a lawyer. I can give a likely answer as to why her dad didn't defend her. As she said herself, the situation is intense. From the perspective of the father, it's his father speaking to him, and this same person may pass away soon. He may be reluctant to say anything or protest to avoid creating even more friction between his father. Having an argument with someone and having them pass before you can reconcile is not a great experience. Do I think he should have defended her? Yeah, but I can see a possibility as to why he didn't. Your suggestion is just stirring up unnecessary drama for a family that are already going through turbulent times, and will likely make the family's situation even more complicated. I agree with several other responses that say talking to your dad is the most important thing you can do here. Express all your fears and hopefully he can share with you his. My guess, based on the context given, and it may be totally wrong but this is the impression I get, is that he fears that grandpa is considering removing him entirely from the will and allocating what would have been for your father to your stepbrother. Previously, I would guess that the situation was not significant enough to completely cut your father out of his will, but now given the context with grandpa and that possibility, I think your father just wants to be able to see you taken care. I could be totally off base, but if I were you, I would share my concerns with him and in plain language request an earnest and blunt response from him of his fears and motivations. Your dad wants a paternity test, probably for closure. He will treat you the same regardless of the results. As for your grandpa's will, not wanting a test to maximize your chances of getting inheritance is frankly not your call. Neither can anyone force you to take the test. However, your grandpa deserves to have the information, as the assets are his to decide, and from the looks of it he rather not name you in his will simply because he doesn't know for sure. Taking the test may result in showing you are in fact his biological offspring and change things in your favor. Your dad had previously refused your grandpa's wishes because your dad understands, whether you're born by him or not, you're his kid. He's raised you. He's invested in your future and your success. He loves you. Your grandpa has put him in a situation where if this isn't done, he's not going to leave him, and by extension, you. Anything. When you're an adult, sometimes you have to suck it up and go against your morals if you believe it's truly what's best for the people who depend on you. As someone without a dad, this reads like he's only wanting this test to shut your granddad up, and he could give two shits less about what the results are going to be. You know, I try to advocate for honesty, but the fact of the matter is, sometimes lying is the better route to go. In my opinion, this is one of those instances. It shouldn't matter to your grandpa if it doesn't matter to your dad, and unless he has done a really good job of hiding it, it hasn't mattered to him for however many years. So, if his only concern truly is his inheritance and you getting help with school, suggest to your dad that he lied to your grandpa and tell him that you guys did a DNA test and you are without a shadow of a doubt biologically his. I am very sorry your mother has put you in this situation, and what everyone involved needs to realize is that none of it is your fault. He raised you as his kid, so even on the very slight off chance that you aren't his biological daughter, you are still his daughter, and he is your dad. Like I said, honesty is usually the best policy, but this is one of those very unique situations, and honestly, why should it matter after all these years? Your grandfather seems like the one who is wrong in the situation. If he loved you, he would leave you stuff regardless of your DNA. Your dad seems to love you regardless and only wants the test so your grandpa can leave you money. He wants you to use that money for college and to be secure. It sounds like even if you aren't his, he will love you regardless. But if you are concerned, you can sit down and talk about it seriously with him. As a bonus story, my dad is not my father biologically, but he has a biological daughter from a previous relationship who is a drug addict with a criminal record. He's decided to avoid giving her any money, not that he has much prop, just life insurance and his cars, by giving everything to my mom. It's kind of petty, but I get it. Grandpa is an old man. This implies paranoia and stinginess has kicked in. Grandpa wants his wealth to go to True Blood. This is not my opinion, just pointing out how old people can get. Grandpa already questions whether you are legit. Dad wants you to get a piece of the pie, so he has to prove to Gramps you are legit. If the test comes back positive, then you get the inheritance. If not, you get cut from the will. This means you may just have to take out loans or score high on SAT for scholarships. Do not sweat it. Take the test. Meanwhile, you could write up a letter for your dad to sign. This will really get him. Write that if the test is negative, you are to remain in the household and be treated like you have been, because you feel you are his daughter no matter what. Write that you do not want to be his financial burden and will look for scholarships to get you through college or learn a trade. Write you only want to be his daughter and not a financial burden, regardless of results, and promise to make him proud. At the bottom, write his name. Do solemnly swear that no matter the test results, will always be my daughter and remain here as my daughter. Have him sign and date. Not only is this legally binding, it will make him understand a few things. Do this because it seems like you will be taking the test, so you might as well. Also, when you take the test, I do not know if it is saliva, but if it is, be sure not to get any DNA from someone else in your mouth, like using the wrong toothbrush, etc. Good luck. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.